I'm back with season 2. It's Basement Philosophies, and I'm your host, Brittany. Here, we won't follow the script of the mainstream media. We'll talk about real life, real problems, and now that I'm a new mom, we're going to talk about that too. Welcome back, and I'm so happy that you're here. Let's get to it. Holy shit, everyone. I am a mom. Quinn Michael is here in all of her glory, earthside. She made her debut on May 14th. Yeah, at 3:50 p.m. And I just think she is the most amazing little human to ever exist. I know all parents say that, but it's true. She's the best. Yeah, it was a crazy ride. And it really is season 2 because my life is absolutely, totally 1,000% different. And I'm even still coming to terms with it. And most of it's becoming a mom. I don't know. It seems like it's coming in levels because, yeah, she's here. And I see her and I care for her and she takes up 100% of my time, which I wouldn't have it any other way. But then something will happen and you just realize, like, you're not, I am me, but, like, I'm not. And I don't know. It's hard to explain, but, you know, you have these moments you're just like, oh my God. And then, like, I look at her, even right now, I'm looking at her and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're here. And you're new and I can't believe it. And then I look at her and I'm just like, but I've known you for, lifetimes. It feels like sometimes. And I just can't believe that she's here. And I'm so happy she's here. And I can't imagine my life and she's not in it. Like, it feels like she's always been in it. And maybe in a way she has. But apparently I took the dog out and she apparently laughed at Armando, and I'm just dead because, like, I didn't hear it. So as far as I'm concerned, it didn't happen yet. But apparently, yes, July 1st was her first laugh, but I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing. But it's going by so fast in a way. Like, she's getting so big, she's growing so strong. She's always been so strong, though. That's a weird thing. I was listening to a podcast and she was talking about her baby. And she was like, like in the hospital, he lifted his head, kind of looked around. Well, she was so alert when she was born. And she's lifting her head and moving it. And I don't know. I don't know anything about babies. I never have. I'm just learning as I go. Sometimes I wonder if Quinn knew just how much I didn't know about babies, would she be scared? But I even asked my mom and even, Armando, it's his third child. He has 2 grown children. And he's like, no, babies don't do this. She's strong. And my mom was like, babies don't act like this. She was like, it's crazy to see. So I just have a super baby. That's a superstar, miraculous baby. I don't know. So it's been so awesome just watching her. And she's kind of in a growth spurt. I'm according to this app that I, discovered or heard about. And so I'm going by that. I don't really know, but it seems to fit. She is a little fussy and, her world is changing. And so, she's kind of acting out, but she's just growing so big. And this time, she's about to be 6 weeks tomorrow. Oh my God, she's so big. And she should be discovering her hands and feet soon. And like I said, she laughed apparently, but I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And it didn't happen until I see it first, So she's just growing and discovering new things. And it's just so incredible to watch. And it is true. Like, I remember being bored with other people's babies, but I'm not bored with my baby. I could watch her every day. That sounded so mean, right? I get bored with other people's babies, but it's true. I've never been a baby person. I am the youngest of 3, and I just, I don't know anything about babies. I never thought I would be a mom. I've been open about that, but here we are and we're doing it, and it's incredible, and I'm so glad that I am taking this journey, especially with Quinn, because she's extra fun. And but I wanted to share my birth story. I didn't really go into a lot of detail, especially when I was pregnant, because I just didn't want the feedback that I knew I was going to get. When you do not follow the norm, people have a lot to say, and to each their own. Everybody has an opinion, and I respect everybody's opinion. But when you're pregnant and scared and vulnerable, like, you don't want to hear it. And while I learned, I made sure to educate myself on everything. I didn't go in naive, which I wanted to. I wanted to be clueless, so I didn't think about the bad things. But I educated myself, and I went to a birthing class, and they had like one particular class where they just kind of talked about everything that could happen. And it was hard for me just to hear it, and you kind of get worried and scared. But whether you're in the hospital or not, anything can happen. And I kind of kept an open mind in that way, but I did not go down the rabbit hole of, it's definitely going to go bad. So I decided that I was going to have my baby in the birthing center. What I wanted was to have it at home, but I knew my fiancé would not have that. So he was just not having that at all. And to be honest, he never was on board with the birth center. And I had hoped that we would come to a compromise, because it was his baby and I wanted him to be comfortable too. But honestly, he was never comfortable. He hated the idea. He stayed worried. He was just so angry with the choice that I made. And he was angry the entire time, the entire pregnancy that he realized how I was going to do it. And there were kind of, I didn't, like, he just didn't make it easy. He did not make it easy. He just wanted me to be at the hospital. He didn't understand why I wanted to do it this way. And there were lots of reasons why I wanted to do the birth center. And I found Journey Birth Center by accident, really. And I'm so thankful. They're so incredible there, but we'll get into that. But just a recap is that Quinn was originally a twin. She had a twin, and I lost one of them because I experienced my miscarriage. I believe it was October. Yeah, it was October. We were driving back from Arkansas, and I started bleeding, and I was just devastated. I was so mad, and I was just cramping all the way home. And I went to bed that night. I've had a miscarriage before, so I knew what to expect. I wasn't scared. I was just devastated, and I went to sleep. I went to sleep that night, just knowing what was happening. My heart was just completely broken. And it stayed broken because, when you let a miscarriage happen naturally, it takes some time. And so that it all took place, and it all happened the way it needed to. And when the bleeding stopped, I waited, maybe a week. And like they say, to take a pregnancy test to make sure it's not positive, just to make sure it's complete. Well, I took the test, and it was still positive. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait, So I waited another week, and it was still positive. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. and and I was like, well, I know I'm not pregnant. And I was like, and if something is left behind, tissue, it can cause a really serious infection. So I was like, so I got up that morning and I told Armando, I was like, I need to make an appointment just to get it checked out. Well, getting someone to do an ultrasound is, and not having your own, I don't have like a provider or anything because I don't have insurance and I just don't go to the doctor a lot. And so I didn't have anybody to go to. So I was just trying to find someone that would give me an ultrasound. And, Planned Parenthood was too busy because, I think that's when the laws were changing and I guess people were freaking out. I really don't know, but I could never get a hold of anybody there. I called another clinic and they said, no, we don't offer that service. And so I started calling doctors' offices, gynecologist offices. And I called so many, I say so many. It took me about 4 or 5 different people being rude to me for me to be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, So I was just, I just Googled, I must have Googled, ultrasounds for pregnancy or something. I don't really know, but Journey Birth Center did come up and I emailed them and I said, I don't know if you offer this, I don't know if you offer this procedure, but I had a miscarriage, but it's still coming up positive. And I really need to know what's going on. And they emailed me back and they were just so kind. And they said, we don't offer that service, but this is who we use. They will be happy to help you. And I called the place and they were so nice to me as well. And they said, we can get you in tomorrow because I got a hold of a few, doctors. I was telling them, I had a miscarriage, but this and that. And they're just, I don't know. They just didn't want to see me. And then if they were willing to, they wanted me to pay thousands of dollars because I had a positive pregnancy test and I don't have insurance. And they wanted me to pay thousands towards the vaginal birth. That's what they kept saying. And then they kept calling me a geriatric high risk already. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm pregnant. Why are you? They were all so doom and gloom. And I was already really scared because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why I had a miscarriage and I was, still coming up positive. And then, my mind went to a crazy place and I had convinced myself I was super sick. Oh God. So I make my appointment and they could get me in the next day, but not until the evening. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. And I went in there and I was just driving there and I was just praying. And I was just like, I just want to be okay. Please, angels, God, who's ever listening, just let me be okay. And I just was scared. I didn't have a bad feeling, but I was really scared. And so I get there and, it's like a granddaughter and her grandmother that worked, they were working that night. And they were just so worried. They were like, I'm so sorry and everything. And I was like, it's okay. I just need to know what's happening. And I'm really scared. And she cried and she hugged me. The ultrasound tech. And is it sonogram? I really don't know the difference. But anyway, I'm going to say ultrasound. So I go in there and I'm just sitting there with my eyes closed. And I don't have anything, I don't have my phone or anything because it said don't have it. And I just had my eyes closed like a child. like my eyes being closed is going to keep me from getting bad news. I don't know. So I have my eyes closed. And she lets out a laugh, right? When she puts that wand up my vag. And I was like, what? And she was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And I was like, what? She's like, you have a baby, honey. And I was like, what? And I look over and the baby is kicking around. And she is moving, and I see her nose, and she's just moving so crazy and like fast. And she was so healthy and strong. And I still remember like yesterday seeing that. And she was like, where's your phone? You're about to hear the heartbeat for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, what? My fiance wasn't there with me because we knew for a fact I wasn't pregnant, right? So I was all by myself. And so I recorded it, and I was just in shock. So that's how I found out I was pregnant with her. It was just such a surprise. And so the next day I just kind of took some time to digest the information, and told Armando and everything. And the next day I started trying to find a doctor, because now I was like, okay, I need to get checked out, because I was 14 weeks already. And I was like, let me go find a doctor. So I start calling all them again. I'm like, I knew I was, just really dreading it because of my experience with just trying to find out if I was pregnant. So I finally, I start calling, and they're just, ooh, you're 14 weeks. Oh, like, I'm so, like, you're how old? Oh, you're geriatric pregnancy, and because you had a miscarriage, you're most likely high risk. I need to see if the doctor will even take you. Like, they start, like, all of them were like this, like, doom and gloom, not very happy. And they were just making me already feel bad for they're like, you haven't seen anybody yet? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I had a miscarriage. And it was just insane. It was insane. And they didn't want to see me. It seemed like, to me, that's what it feels like. They just didn't want to see me. So by the, fifth or something office that I called, sorry, she's stretching. So by the fifth or something office that I called, my heart was broken, and I was definitely terrified, because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I was just at a complete loss. I didn't know. I just cried so hard because I was so scared at this point, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to work out. And I called the birth center that sent me to the ultrasound tech, and I was like, I called you. Like, I tried to cry it all out, but then I was just sobbing on the phone, and I was like, I called you guys, and it turns out I have a baby, and I just really don't know what to do. And I'm sobbing like a crazy person. And the woman on the phone is just listening. She's like, oh my gosh, you're pregnant? Congratulations. This is a miracle. And she was just so happy for me and so supportive. And I was like, I straight up was like, I need help. I don't know what to do or where to go. And she was just talking to me, and she made me feel so much better. And I kind of like looked at their facility. Like, she kind of just told me, my options, I guess. And I hung up with her, and I took some time, and I looked through their website, and I read about all the midwives that were there, and I was like, do I want to do this? I was like, I want to do this. And so I called them back, and I was like, or I text them, or not text them, emailed them, one of the two, and I decided to make an appointment with them. And they took me in. It was like an intake session that you go to, and it's where you tour the facilities and start everything, like starting the test and everything. And they just tell you the process. And I made the appointment without even talking to, my fiance because I knew he wasn't going to be on board. And then he was just so mad about the idea. So I just didn't bring it up really, but I got the appointment anyway. So then, and it was far enough out so anything could happen. I did not cancel it. So then once Armando threw his fit, I was like, you know what? If you want me to go to the doctor, you're going to call and you're going to make the appointment, because I tried. I didn't like them. They were mean and I'm not doing it. So if that's how you want it done, then you're going to do all the work and I'll just go. And he's like, no, you're going to have a crappy attitude about it. And I was like, no, I won't. I was like, but you need to understand, like, this is not what I want. So I was like really mad. Well, he never really did it. He never really made an appointment. And I was like, and I wasn't like crappy about it. I was like, honey, if this is what you want, like, you need to make it happen. But he never ever did. And so I was like, well, I do have this appointment. And he was like, okay, but he was so mad. And like I said, I wanted there to be common ground, but there just wasn't, and never was. I had to stand firm and fight for it, like, the whole time. He did not make it easy, but it all worked out for the best. But anyway, that's how, like, I found them, and they were just so nice. They helped me from the very beginning, where I didn't even know what to do and when I was so scared. And they made me feel so good and made me feel so comfortable. And that's when, like, I truly started to, like, listen, to my intuition and my body. And I was like, this makes me feel good. I know that this is the right decision, because I just did not feel good calling those doctors. And, I heard a lot of horror stories about the protocol after, the pandemic hit, and I just wasn't on board with that. I didn't, want to wear masks. I didn't want to be by myself, which is funny because I ended up kicking everybody out of my room anyway, but sorry guys. But anyway, yeah, so that's how I found them. And when so I was at the apartment, it was night, and we were watching TV, and I just ate, and we were just watching Dateline, and my stomach started to hurt. like really started to hurt. Like I needed to go shit my pants. So I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so I didn't say anything first. I just got up and went. But when it kept happening, I was like, Armando, I think my stomach hurts. It was like 8:39 at night. I texted my sister and I was like, man, my stomach hurts. And so I kept having to go to the bathroom. He's like, are you okay? And I was so embarrassed. And I was like, yeah, my stomach just hurts. And he's like, okay. We ended up laying down, and I wanted to go to sleep, but I couldn't stop pooping. Like, I just thought I was sick. It was coming in waves, and it didn't really feel like contractions. It just felt like I had to go to the bathroom. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody's had to poop like that. That's what it felt like. And so I was just like, oh man. And then it would go away. So I tried to lay down. I think I tried to lay down like 3 different times. And I was like, oh man. So I was like so tired. I just wanted to go to sleep. And so I brought my like iPad in the bathroom, and I was just going to sit on the toilet until I felt better, because I was just so tired, and I was mad, and I couldn't sleep. And had I known this was the beginning, I would have tried to sleep, because I was up for 36 hours or something. But so I still didn't think I was in labor, because I was just pooping. And so I got up, and I went to the kids' bathroom, because I was keeping my fiance up, and I felt bad. And so I went to the kids' bathroom. I was like, I'm just going to go over there. And, it wasn't until I saw like my left boob start leaking, and I was like, oh my God, what the F, and I texted my sister, called her immediately, and I was like, oh, my boob is, oh no, we were texting, and I was like, my boob is leaking, and sure enough, like, it was the colostrum starting to come in, and I was like, holy crap, I think I'm going to labor. And so then I called my mom, and by this time it was like 10, and I was telling her what was happening. She's like, well, maybe we should like time it. And so then it started to feel a little less like I needed to take a poop and more like cramps, like menstrual cramps. And it's true. I've had Braxton Hicks. They don't feel nothing like a regular contraction. It's like a joke. Like, I was like, why do you even have Braxton Hicks? It's not even the same thing. So here I am. I'm trying to. So we started timing them, and and then they really started happening, and it started to become a pattern. So I told my doula, I was like, I think I'm going to labor. Now there's kind of a pattern starting. She's like, okay, just let me know when you go. She was like, I can come there if you want me to, or just let me know when you go to the birth center. And I said, okay, I think I'll just let you know because I'm fine. And I was like, texting with her. I told the midwife. She's like, well, just get some rest. Midwives are so calm and cool and collected. And she's like, just get some rest. I'm like, yeah, right. And I wanted to, but it was hurting. And so I was on the phone. My mom and my sister stayed on the phone with me the whole time until it was time to go. So we did not go. I didn't get Armando up until 3 a.m. and I was like, it's time to go. Like, I'm in labor. And because I was letting him sleep. And he was like, okay. And he was just getting dressed and hurrying. And I had everything. And I was just like hurting so bad. And, because you have to wait. Your contractions had to be 4 minutes apart, have to last a minute for an hour. So that's what my mom, my sister, we were all on the phone waiting for it. And at first we were talking and it was fine, but then, everybody's getting tired, and then I was starting to hurt a little more, and I was really nervous and scared. Not scared, I just didn't know. Like, it was just, I was going into labor. So, we get in the car, we get there. I only live like 20 minutes away. And, but, oh, wait, before I left, I remember, you get I got my bloody show here. And when you haven't seen blood down there for that long and then you see it, you really freak out. And I was like, oh my God, this is like it. And I showed the midwife and she's like, it is. She's like, you're right where you need to be, but it is kind of early. Like, you can still, labor at home. But if you feel better coming here and I can check you out, then do that. And I was like, okay. And so, at first, I'm sure all the first time moms were, not all of them, but I just wanted to know. And so that's what we did. And we get there and she's helping, I think, another mom, because I get into the little exam room and we were there for a while. And I was still in good spirits. Like, I was happy and smiling, and my favorite person, Jamie, was there. And I was like, you're here? She's like, I'm here. But she was going to leave that earlier, but she was like, yeah, I'm here. But she looked kind of tired. And but she was still there for the beginning part, and I get into the room, but each contraction was hurting, more and more. But I could still, like, when it was over, I would like smile and laugh and be like, woo, but so she did the exam, and I never had a cervical exam the entire pregnancy, so that was the first time I had one of those, and it totally sucked. I hated that. But when I got there, I was only 5 centimeters, and they won't admit you at 5 centimeters. And she was like, we can't admit you till 6 in America. It's like the law or whatever. So she wanted me to go home. I was just going to go to my sister's or wait in the car. I didn't care. I just knew it was going to suck for me. So I was like, whatever, y'all decide. And I think my family was horrified. Like, they were so scared. They're like, I don't want to be alone with her. And my doula would have came, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't thinking. And I'm so sorry. My dog is snoring and I keep messing with her and she won't stop snoring. But so I was like, oh my God. Like, I was just like sitting on the couch. And then she was like, well, y'all can wait here if you want. Like, it's fine. And they were like, we can. They were so relieved. And I was like, whatever. I don't. So I like went to the bathroom or something. And then I like laid on the couch. And that was the moment I was like, I truly don't know what I got myself into. Like, how am I going to do this? But I didn't say it out loud. I just was like a little panic set in. But I was still cool. But honestly, I was not working with my mind. I wasn't working with my contractions. I was basically just trying to get through them, and it's just not what I needed to do. And I just wanted a room, I guess. I guess I was like, well, when I get to my room, like, I'll start doing what I need to do. I don't know what my reasoning was, but they just kept checking the baby's heart rate. And I just wanted like it to be done because I was getting tired. Okay. Now it's like 5 something in the morning no, it was like 6 something before I could even go into the room. So it took a couple of hours before I even got to go to the room. And I got there, they're like, what do you want? And I was like, I guess let's get in the water. 'Cause I wanted a water birth. And so I got in there. It took forever to fill up. I remember thinking I just wanted to be in the water. I didn't want to stand. I was just hurting. And so they were filling it up and the water felt so good. Oh, it felt so good. And I was just sitting there and I was like, man, I hope it's almost over. And it wasn't. Like, I was in the water for forever and I was making these sounds like, ooh, I can't even remake them. It was just this low. I just wanted just these awful low pitch sounds and like, oh, kind of like that. Except it lasted a long time and it was really, really loud. And I don't know how long I was in there or what time it was. All I know is like the sun was up. And it was bright out, and I was in labor. And at one point, the midwife checked me again, and I don't know when she checked me, honestly, to be honest. And I don't know how many times. All I know is that it hurt every single time, and I hated it. And they made me made me get out of the water and go to the toilet for whatever reason, and I hated being on the toilet. So I went to the toilet the first time and I labored there for a while. And then I moved to the bed and they made me do that cycle of 3. You'll know it. It starts with an M. But you sit in these positions for 30 minutes at a time. So the first one's like your butt is in the air. I sat like that for 30 minutes in active labor. Then the next one, you like lay on your side with your leg. It has to be like elevated. I guess those are the 2 that I did. I didn't do the last one. So I did 2 of those positions. I stayed in each one for 30 minutes. And my doula was there just like petting me and loving me. And telling me that I was so strong. And then when I got done with those, they're like, do you want to get back in the water? And I said, yes. I think she might have checked me at one point because we got back in the water and I wasn't pushing yet. And I was just telling the doula over and over again that I was just so tired. I know I'm so tired. And even the midwife told me at one point that I didn't have to be there like it wasn't mandatory and I could go to the hospital whenever I wanted. You know, they didn't like hold me hostage there, but I was just determined. And one of the things that was deciding factor for me, there was two things. Like, despite the pain I was in, one, I wanted to prove my fiance wrong because he was like, you won't be able to do it. I know that sounds really mean, but he was just being honest. He was like, you know, it hurts. I mean, there's no way. And you know, like I said, he was not on board with this idea. So it doesn't surprise me that he was like that. And then the second thing is I was in so much pain. I couldn't have imagined like getting dressed to leave to go somewhere else feeling that way. And so I was like, no, like one way or another it's happening here. Whether I need to chop my body in half and give them the bottom half so they could deliver it, I don't care. Like, just, she needs to come out. She just would not come out. And after, so like, she finally checked me again and she told me it was 10 centimeters and she's like, you can start pushing now. Not that I mean, I knew what that meant, but, you know, I thought like, oh, you're 10 centimeters. That means she's coming out like after a few pushes. No. I pushed for 2 more hours and she still wasn't coming out. I drank some nasty drink and that didn't help at all either. And I had to go back to the dreaded toilet. They made me get out of the water and go to the toilet again. And by this point, I'm getting really discouraged and it's hurting and I just want her to come out. She would not come out. So I'm on the toilet and I'm just in so much pain. I just need it to be over because like there was not 1 ounce of me left. Well, maybe an ounce left of me being able to do this. And my midwife comes in there. She's holding on to me, or maybe I should say I'm holding on to her. I'm pretty sure I was resting my head on her boobs. I don't know. It felt good. Whatever. She was like, I was resting my head on her boobs and I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I think I'm done. I was ready, honestly, to give up then. I just couldn't go on. And she's like, you have gotten lost, like, in the pain. She was like, you're tensing up. And she's like, and you can't progress because you're so afraid. And she was right. I was so afraid. And so she was like, you gotta relax. And I'm staring at her. She's like, look at me. And I'm trying the best. I use all of the possible energy that I have to try to relax and embrace these contractions. And I was doing it, but it was not graceful or, you know, I mean, of course it wasn't easy, but it just, oh God, it hurt. And it was messy. I was bleeding. There was stuff coming out, you know, like, I just was a mess. Like, it was like, birth is the rawest, realist thing ever. And it was just so crazy that it was like that. Because, you know, you're in the hospital, it's like sterile, you're not moving. But here, it was just like, I'm in it. Like, I was in it. And I was just like, whoa, crazy. And, so I'm on the toilet and I remember we got through a few. I was staring at her and she's like, just look at me. And she's just holding on to me, telling me to calm down and everything. She was tough. I liked her a lot. She was so tough. And she was like, breathe and relax or whatever it is, which, you know, are impossible. That you think they're possible, but she was just like, you know, you're getting lost in the pain, you know, don't brace yourself, just relax. And I promise you, I was trying the best I could, but then I was just like, I can't do it. And she said, you're about to meet your baby. And I didn't believe her, for one. And two, I was like, no, she's never coming out. She's not going to come out. And she was like, well, how about, she's like, what do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just want her out. That's what I said. I was like, I just want her out. She's like, she was like, we can lay you on the bed and I can push on whatever she pushed on and you push with all of your might and put all of your energy into where I'm pushing. And I was like, okay, will it get her out? And she's like, it's going to get her out. We're going to get her out. And so that's what we did. And even though being like on my back like that was the worst pain ever. Like, it's what we did. So my legs are like up and they're holding them, not in like stirrups up, like they were just up, and they're like holding them for me. And I would basically grab both of their hands and pull them to me, and I was just pulling with all of my might, and like I was screaming, but she was like, stop screaming. She was like, you need to harness that energy to where I am. Look, like, find my fingers, you know, and harness your energy. And like, so I was trying, and she wouldn't come. And then finally they were just like, her head, they were like, look, put your hands down here and you'll know like your progress. And I said, ew, no, like, no, I don't want to touch it. And then because I didn't and then she was like, do you want a mirror? We'll put a mirror so you can watch. And I said, no, I don't want to. I think that would have like done me in to see it, because I saw my niece being born and it's not pretty. And I just, no, that would have freaked me out even more. So I was just like, no. And she's like, okay. And then like I pushed again. I was like, oh God. And then, could you push like when you have a contraction? I was like, pray for me. I remember saying that. And her head was coming, like crowning, and they call that like the ring of fire. And oh my God, that really is a ring of fire. So they're like, don't push. And they're like, just sit there. And I'm like making the ugliest breathing. I still remember I was like, like, so, oh my God, it's so gross. Like, I was just doing whatever. Like, you don't care, but like, you don't care. Like, I could have shit so much in the water and I wouldn't have cared. Like, before I was like worried about that, but no, you really don't care. And, so that, like, I'm sitting there, you have to do that till I guess the next contraction. I really don't know. I think it's because if you force it, you tear or something. I really can't recall why I couldn't push then. And then they were like, okay, you can push now. And so I did. And I was like, ah, and I did scream, and I wasn't supposed to, but I was like, ah. I was so loud and obnoxious, but oh God, I apologize. I still apologize to them. I don't even have to go there anymore, but I'm just like, sorry. They don't care, but I do. But I screamed, and they were like, her head is out. And I was like, oh my God, they're like, the hardest part is over. Like, but like, I was like, oh my God. And then what was weird is that she was hanging out of me. Like, half of her was in and half of her was out. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that's so weird. And I could feel her. I could feel her down there. And I was like, that is so weird. And then honestly, the rest was nothing. Like, you push a little, but basically the contraction does it for you. And she just kind of plopped right out, like, blip, blip, like that. And they were like, you know, I was just like, oh my God. Like, that's how I was breathing. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was kind of out of it. I don't even know. I was like, I think I was coming back to the planet, because I'm pretty sure you have to leave your body for something like that. And it was just for a split second, but then like I was like, is she okay? Like, is she okay? And Sarah was like, she's perfect. And she's so calm. She was always so calm and tough and collected. She was the best person. And she was just like, she's perfect. And they handed her right to me. And, you know, they do delayed cord clamping. So she was still like attached to me, and the placenta's still in me, but she was on top of my stomach. And I guess looked at her, and I just saw her perfect little mouth and nose and her big eyes. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was just so in shock to see her. And there are no real words to describe looking at your baby. Like, it's just shocking. And I'm lucky enough, you know, there's a lot of times moms don't feel a connection to their babies. But I was lucky enough that I did. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I just sobbed because that's what I do. I cry about everything. And then I was like, but like, I remember screaming, I did it. Oh my gosh. I was like, we did it, because there was a point where I begged her to come out, and I was like, I love you so much. Please just come out. Like, let's meet each other. I want to meet you so bad. I love you so much. Like, this was in the water. And I was like, please come out. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. I was like, please come out. Because, you know, I'm a firm believer that babies and moms work together. Of course they work together. So she worked just as hard as me that day to get out. And her head just wasn't in the exact right spot it needed to be. And she kind of got stuck. Didn't you, Quinn? And, sorry, that's her. And, so, I just remember saying, I did it. I was like, we did it. And I looked at her and I met her and I said, we did it. And I was just crying, and Dad cut the cord eventually when it was time, you know, because you have to wait a little bit for all the blood to stop pumping. And then he cut the cord, and they never take them away from you. That's why I loved being there, because she never left my sight. She hasn't left my sight since she was born. And then after that, you know, you feel like so high because of the hormones, and I just felt incredible, and I was just so relieved that she was out, and we were just talking and laughing and holding her and crying, and I got to shower, and they were feeding me, trying to keep me, you know, well, I stayed hydrated the whole time, but they were giving me a cookie and water, because, you know, I was in labor for 18 hours. Not to mention I never went to sleep, so I was up for 36 hours or something like that. Oh my God. And I've never done that before in my life. And then I didn't realize how much work labor was until I had to get up and shower, like after it was all over. And it was such a weird feeling. It felt like all of my insides were going to just fall out. And so I walked to the shower. My sister helped me, and I was like, "Can you just?" They just wanted her to stay in there. They're like, "Okay, but you need to pee," and I was like, "Okay." Oh my gosh, peeing after birth hurts. How did it burn? I was like, "Ow, it burns!" And I heard the midwife say, "Oh, she must be peeing," and I was like, "Ow." But I just honestly rinsed my body off. Like, I couldn't do much else. And, sorry, she is so loud. So I couldn't do much else. So I just rinsed off. And then 2 hours later, we were home, and I was with her. So we get home, and I just came to the bed, of course. And she's here, and I'm in love with her, and I got my fiance, he held her, I think, for 4 hours straight while she slept, because we were both pretty tired, and she slept, and I slept for 4 hours straight. It was like that felt like a lot to me, because, you know, I hadn't been sleeping at all. You don't sleep like your third trimester of pregnancy. So I got 4 hours, and then it all started, you know, and that's where we are. And it was just incredible. And a lot of people ask me now, would you do it again? And the answer is like a resounding yes. But if I wasn't at the birth center, then I would be at home. And I stand by that. Ultimately, it didn't matter what anyone said, because I knew that God made my body perfectly, like designed it perfectly to have this child. In fact, people, you know, of course, have been having babies for how long? And I just knew I could do it. It didn't matter, you know, what anybody said. I knew I could do it. And I did it. Now, I needed support. Yes, my doula was just the most amazing person, because like I said, at one point I kicked out my fiance, mom, and sister, and it wasn't I don't know why. I just got cranky, and I felt like I couldn't labor with them watching me, and I felt like they didn't want to watch me, and just their faces honestly looked horrified, and I was just like, you guys can go. Like, whatever I said, but they left, and I didn't even let them stay in there ever. I didn't let them, they didn't come back all day until she was coming out. I feel kind of bad, but I don't think they wanted to be in there. And Armando, he came in and said, nobody, like, I'm sorry you're in pain, or I don't even know, but I just needed him to go too. I was they tried, but I didn't want them. But my doula, she stayed in the whole time, and she never left. She got like a snack once, but she was mostly there I think I was there for 13 hours, and she stayed the whole time. She was absolutely incredible, just as incredible as all of the women at Journey Birth Center. I couldn't have done it without them, and I have this experience, and I have them to thank for. I have them to thank for giving me that, because I couldn't have, done it without them. And they've been there from the beginning. They've been there since I was crying, not being able to find a doctor. And I want to thank all of the women there for everything that they did for me, because they went above and beyond. They have no idea how much they changed me and my life. But it was the greatest experience. So if you are on the fence about having a natural birth, I say go for it. Just go for it. And, you can always change your mind, but your bodies were built to have your babies naturally. And I'm an advocate for it forever. And it's such an empowering thing to come out on the other side of that. And I just feel like I could do anything now. But any mom out there, anybody who's given birth, no matter how you've given birth, you are truly a miracle, and you've done the impossible. And I'm here for you, and I'm proud of you. And just to tell you, I'm here to tell you that you are amazing. The female body is incredible. It's miraculous. And I've said before, I never even paid attention to the fact that I am a woman, but I love it now. And I know how incredible that is. I know how great and powerful that feminine energy is. And I think that we should all be shining that light into the world, because the world needs it more than ever now. And I'm so proud to be a woman. I'm so proud that my body was designed so perfectly, and that I can even feed my baby now with my boobs. Like, that's incredible. And I just, and all I have to do is rest and make sure I'm taking care of myself, so that I'm the best version of myself, so I can take care and feed my baby, and God does the rest. And it's amazing. It's incredible. And I think, I don't want any more babies, but if it came down to it, I would do it again. And I'm just so happy. Thank you so much for listening to my story. So sorry, like Quinn, she was just wanting to talk, and for you to hear her too. I've tried to record this, I don't know, for 3 days now, and nothing ever felt right. And I could redo this one because she was talking, but I'm not going to. So I like her little scream. But thank you so much for being here, and I am going to be back. We'll figure out the schedule, but the newborn phase is crazy. We could talk more about newborn phase and postpartum next time, because I think it's worth talking about. But thank you so much for being here. And season 2 is going to be amazing. And there's going to be people that we're going to talk to, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. I love you. Bye.